Welcome, coaches. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you taking the time out of your evenings and busy schedules. We are so excited to kick off the bocce season with you all. The purpose of this call is to make sure that everybody has the same information as we head into our regional events and also onto state. We want to be really consistent with the information that you guys get and make sure that it's a great season for all of the athletes and all of the coaches. On this call, we're joined by all of our regional managers: Adrian from Denver, Chop or Jeff from the Northeast, Julie from the Western region, Michelle from the Southeastern region, and also our helpful coordinators and program coordinators, Ashton from the Northeast, Kyle from the Southeast, Corey with Denver. Susan Fogg is also on the call. She's our Director of Competitions, and Linda Lappy is on the call as well, our Senior Vice President of Competitions and Programs. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into some important dates here. So first and foremost, we're going to have our Coaches Summit on Saturday, July 20th here in the Denver area. However, it's open to all coaches statewide, so head coaches, assistant coaches, team volunteers, whomever, to get some additional training. Again, that's July 20th. Bocce is not one of the sports that we're going to be certifying in this year. However, that certification for bocce will come in 2020. This year's certifications include basketball, football, softball, track and field, and tennis. And we'll also offer some non-sport specific certifications. So we'll have a whole session on health and fitness. We'll get a session on sports psychology, so how to motivate our athletes, providing them that leadership for your team, and also working on team culture as well. Additionally, all of the regional managers are going to put on a great session about fundraising, give you guys some good ideas, how to best structure a budget that's really going to benefit your team. And then lastly, we'll have a session about our unified philosophy. So how to coach unified partners, how to get the most out of those unified partners and make it a cohesive effort for the whole team. The dates for our bocce regionals are going to be in the Southeast. For the Southeast Regional Summer Classic, it'll be held on Saturday, July 13th at Memorial Park in Colorado Springs. Entries are due to Michelle by Friday, June 28th by 12 p.m. The Denver Regional Summer Classic will be held on Saturday, July 27th at Clement Park here in Littleton. Entries are due to Adrian or Corey by Friday, July 12th. And that is an extremely long day, so make sure that you're bringing some food and drink for your athletes. It typically runs from 8 a.m. to about 4 p.m. So definitely a long one. You're going to want to pack some rations. The Northeast Regional Summer Classic will be held on Saturday, July 27th at Garden Acres Park in Longmont, and entries are due to Jeff by Monday, July 15th. The Western Regional Summer Classic will be on Saturday, the 27th in Grand Junction, and entries are due to Julie by Wednesday, July 17th. Our state competition is going to be Saturday, August 24th. At the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. So make sure that we communicate these dates with our partners, parents, caregivers, to make sure that they have those dates and are prepared to attend. As a reminder, everybody who is going to be advancing to state needs to participate at the regional competition. That's not to say that they need to place, it's just to say that they all need to be there on the roster and participating at the regional competition. We also require 8 weeks of practice before teams go to state. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and unmute and turn it over to Adrian.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yes.
All right, let's walk them through the coaching resources. So click over to Coach Resources. This tab will take you over to this page. You'll scroll down to Coach Handbook, click on Coach Handbook by Sport. And then this will take you to the page that has all the forms you'll need for all our sports, including bocce. So we'll run you through the forms that you need to fill out for regional and state competitions. So I'll start off with the coach roster. All right, once this loads, straightforward stuff here. You need to fill out your region that your team resides in, the sport, bocce, the competition that you will be attending. So, which regional you will be attending, Northeast, Southeast, Denver, or the West. Your team name, your head coach's name. Some of you guys will have a different head coach who's going to be your day of point of contact than the individual who's submitting the paperwork and doing all the administrative piece. So what we need here is is going to be your day of point of contact. We'll need that name, their event day phone number, and that head coach's email. And then under additional email, if you have anybody who that administrator for your team or an assistant coach, you can add them there under additional email. Then if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll have the different cells there that say last name, first name. You'll need to just enter any assistant coaches who will be assisting your team on the day of tournament at both regionals or state. Listen there, last name, first name. Date of birth is a new feature here. It's going to be important that we get an accurate date of birth for all your coaches. That way we can get you the most accurate information when we do send out your Class A paperwork on all these coaches. So please try to capture all the date of births for any assistant and head coaches on your team, and then also list their gender. So if you go back, Jordan. We have 3 different forms that you will fill out. So you have your singles, your doubles, and your team entry form. So let's go to the samples on these. So the singles entry form, again, straightforward stuff. Regional, what region you're from, who your what the day of contact number is, what your team name will be, who the head coach is. So that should reflect the same as your coach roster sheet. And then same thing for your coach emails. So you can list any multiple emails here that you might have. So if you have head coach and assistant coach that you also want to be receiving the same information that you are, please feel free to list them here. These are the emails that we will be using to distribute any information leading up to regional and state competition. Do you plan on attending state? If you're uncertain, always check yes. It's easier for us to have you already added and then remove you than it is to add you after the fact. Then here you'll list all your athletes who are going to be participating in singles. So first name, last name. Try to write out their complete name as they would have completed on their medical form. That's going to be the easiest way for us to get accurate information for you guys. So, right, if it's Bill Andrews, we would like William, and then maybe parentheses, Bill Andrews, or in quotations. That way we can try to find the accurate William Bill Andrews in our system. The other thing that's going to help us out here is making sure that we get accurate dates of birth on each one of these athletes. I would highly encourage you, as you guys all gather around for your first practice, to try to capture as many dates of birth as possible from your athletes at that point. This will save you any paperwork on the back end. If you're going to attend lead-ups, please check the column there. If you need a ramp access on the day of a competition, check that column as well. Qualification score, I'll go into this a little bit later, but this is how you're going to go about getting accurate information so that we know how to division these athletes appropriately, and then whether or not they're going to be if your athlete is in a wheelchair. All right, so go back. So let's go to the doubles sample. Same thing at the top. Same thing with state competition. If you have athletes that are going to be in singles, doubles, or teams, I would like to try to keep the head coach information as consistent as possible at the top, rather than changing that between different entry forms. So you'll see now, rather than the singles, doubles gives the option to have pairs. So you'll have, this is who are going to be competing together. So you have the option of doing a traditional team or a unified doubles team. We'll need athlete name, gender, their date of birth, then here whether they are going to be an athlete or a partner. There's a drop-down menu to click that. Again, if they're going to be in a wheelchair or will need a ramp, you have a drop-down menu to click which one they're going to be, if they're in any of those specific categories. Then we'll need their double score. So if they're an all-athlete traditional team, we're going to need their score under the doubles column. If they're going to be a unified team or unified partner pair team, we'll need their score under the unified doubles. And then if you scroll over, Jordan, then if they're going to be entered in any other competitions, we have if they're going to be entered in either singles or team, just check one of those boxes. All right, so let's go back. And now finally, Bocce team entry form, same concepts apply. Let's scroll down to the field there. So you have an opportunity of a team of 4 plus an alternate. So if you have anybody who might not be attending, state but not regionals, or vice versa, you can list them as an alternate on the team, so that way they can serve as a substitute for somebody who might not be able to attend one of the tournaments. We'll need their full names, their gender, dates of birth, if they're an athlete or partner, if they're going to be using a ramp or wheelchair, again, in that drop-down menu. And then if you have an all-athlete team, we need to score in the team column. If you have a unified team with athletes and partners, we need it under the unified team. And then again, if they're going to be attending any other competitions, if they're going to be in doubles or singles, please mark it off there. All right. And then last tool that I will share with you guys before handing it off, we have the Bocce divisioning scorecard that's fillable. This is how you're going to go about rating your athletes and entering those scores on the different entry sheets. So your athlete's name, gender, team, score. We don't necessarily need this divisioning scorecard. This is for your own purposes as you go through practice and you start divisioning your athletes. You will use this as your guide to get us accurate scores for each one of your athletes on your scorecard. I would highly encourage you to read through this. I'm not going to work it through you because you all have the opportunity to read it here on the website, but this is what you'll need to use as you start divisioning your athletes prior to submitting your paperwork ahead of regional competition dates. And that's it for me, and I'll hand it over to Jeff to talk about principles of meaningful involvement. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Adrian.
All right, Jordan, I know it's not under the section, but if you want to pull up the principles of meaningful involvement. Yeah. So anytime we have unified sports, guys, this is mainly for team sports. That's probably why it's not listed under the Bocce section, but we just want to make sure that whenever we have unified partners playing with our athletes that we follow this one pager. So if you do have doubles or teams where unified partners are involved, we just want to make sure that everyone on the team has a meaningful role for the most case. So it's really hard to partner dominate in bocce ball unless you have a world-class bocce player, which could definitely happen. So if you have a partner that's playing on a team and they're on the red team and they're knocking, all the blue team's balls outside of the box so they can win every time, that's pretty much the only form of partner domination you're probably going to see in bocce. So this isn't something we have to be super worried about with bocce. I personally have never seen partner domination in 13 years of bocce. That's not to say it can't happen though. But this is definitely just a one pager that I think all coaches and partners should definitely go over at the beginning of every season when they're dealing with unified sports. So again, not going to read through everything with you. It's super quick to go through. It's just the gist of it is that everyone has a meaningful role on the team. And in this case, just something to mention is that if you do have a partner that's really dominant or that much better, we ask that they play to the level of the athletes they're playing with and against. So that's pretty much the basics of meaningful involvement. If anyone has any questions on that, please just let me know or type them in the chat box. And with that, I want to kind of jump back to something Adrian touched on. We don't offer skills in bocce since it's an individual sport technically, even though there's doubles and team offerings with it. But what we do offer is lead up events. So can you go back to the entry form for me, Jordan?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to touch base on this real quick. So if you go to the bocce singles entry form, you'll notice that you can click lead up right here. And again, this is the closest aspect of skills that we have. So once you fill out that divisioning card that Adrian mentioned a little bit, any athlete is eligible in singles, doubles, or team competition to be in the lead up court. All that is we set up a half court of bocce, and the athletes typically in wheelchairs or that have mobility issues will stay on the same end and play on a half court or half field, so they don't have to go back and forth and waste that time. A majority of the events at all regionals and state will have a time limit or first to a certain score, which is typically 12. So if you do have an athlete that may need more time or is not mobile enough to get from each end of the court after each set, then you'll actually utilize this lead up box. So, but all the athletes are scored the same. And something I did want to touch on as well, please make sure you are recording your scores in meters and centimeters. If one team records their score in inches, that's going to throw off divisioning completely. So that's on the entry form sheet as well. Just please make sure when you're doing those measurements that you utilize that to a T, because that is definitely going to help with divisioning. And be sure to fill out the correct entry form, whether it's singles, doubles, or team. The more information you give us, the more accurate we can division and make for a more competitive and fun tournament at the event. So does anyone have any questions for me on anything I just discussed? Awesome. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks so much, Chop. We're going to turn it over to Susan to go over some rules for us.
Alrighty, just a couple of things. Probably the biggest thing that I want to touch base with everyone kind of coming out of last year's state tournament, we had an issue where the grass was too long. So if we run into that again at a regional or state tournament, the flag will be placed behind the Polina. The volunteer will stand off to the side of that. Once the athlete delivers the ball, the volunteer will pull the flag out. I think there was a little bit, I don't think we trained our volunteers the best on that last year, and they weren't kind of sticking to all of those rules, but we will pull the flag out after the athlete delivers the ball. Okay. Ideally, all of our grass will be trimmed to a perfect height that we won't need to worry about that. But again, at any time, if the athlete requests for the flag to be placed to see the Polina, it will be pulled out after the athlete delivers the ball. Do you guys have any questions on that? Okay, great. As Jeff said, remember that we're measuring in meters and centimeters. And when you're doing your measurements, you will measure from the middle of the Polina to the middle of the ball, which is the same thing that we'll do at regionals and state on tie breaks if needed to do that. Okay. And just, you know, we will continue to enforce the typical rules. Athletes can be in singles or doubles or team. They can pick 2 out of 3 of those to be in. And we also offer unified in those competitions as well. Other than that, I don't think there are too many other changes and too many other things to really cover, unless you guys have any questions on any of the rules.
Henry Gardner here.
Hi, Henry.
Go ahead.
Hi. I'm wondering if you would like to have coach participation in the training of your volunteers before a competition.
You know, what we can do, Henry, is that's something we can definitely look into. We have a pretty basic cheat sheet that we give out to them. I'd be happy to send that out to the coaches to review to see if there's anything that we can add. but we can definitely look into that.
Sure. The reason I even suggest it, Susan, is that it brings a real life aspect to the process of training, and I bring it up because when I learned how to be a gate judge for World Cup ski racing, absolutely the best thing was to be able to talk to ski racers themselves and their coaches in terms of being able to understand what they were facing in a competition.
Sure. No, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And you can provide that firsthand kind of experience and help with that training. So we will definitely look into that prior to our events. Thank you for bringing that up. Are there any other questions on the rules or any aspects of the regional or state events that I can cover? Great.
Perfect. At this time, we're going to hear from Julie, and she's going to kind of talk to us about some required paperwork for both athletes and coaches.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. An email will come out to the coaches with a list of athletes that had participated in the past. And then on top of that, most times a follow-up with asking for a true list of your athletes and coaches as things change year to year. And we then will check paperwork for Class A's for our unified partners, Class A's for our coaches, as well as the medical dates for our athletes. At this time, we have jumped into the 21st century, and everything, meds and Class A's are online. There is a way to download that, the medical app, and the athlete will get an email with the medical completion, and if they have a coach as well they want to include, they will get a copy of that as well. Again, paper form is still available for medicals online, and then the printout.
That's correct. Thank you, Julie. And as you guys can see on the screen, the athlete download for the paper copy, the hard copy is here. And then this is the link for the online portion. And we got to this page by just scrolling over Get Involved and then Athlete. And then, yep, this is how we'll get to the coach registration, Class A's. All right. Any questions about that paperwork? Great. We will now turn it back to Susan for a couple updates on state.
Great. As Jordan mentioned, we will be having our State Summer Classic at the Air Force Academy this year. It will be on Saturday, August 24th. We're pretty excited to be back there. They're excited to be working with us, and we're looking forward to it. We will be having bocce, cycling, and tennis all happening on Saturday. So it'll be pretty similar to Memorial Park, where you guys will be kind of right where the cyclists are. We will be having some healthy athlete screenings as well as Olympic Town. And more information will come out after that, as well as some housing deals that we're hoping to get for anyone who will need to stay overnight. If you guys have any questions on that?
And as you guys see, the State Summer Classic cheat sheet is also here under the Bocce tab in the Coach Handbook by Sport. So it's the first sheet right here for your reference. Great. At this time, I am going to go ahead and open it up for general questions or region-specific questions. And if you don't want to use your computer or phone audio, also feel free to type it into the chat and we can see those and answer those there as well. Great. Well, if there's anything else that we can do for you guys, please reach out to your regional manager, reach out to Susan, myself, Linda, whomever. We are happy to help you guys throughout the season. We are looking forward to seeing y'all at competitions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll hang around for just 1 or 2 more minutes and just ensure that there are no more questions. But at this time, if you don't have any questions, feel free to sign off. Any other questions? All right, great. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all joining us. See you guys soon.
See ya.
See ya.